back in the truck. It's been a little while. I actually headed to Indiana right now. I haven't gone to Elkhart or Middlebury in at least a couple weeks because we've been running those dealer-to-dealer trailers. So I was running out to like Sterling, Illinois, slightly closer. But if you watch some of my other videos, there wasn't, as much money in those because of all the deadhead I was doing for such a short delivery. But those trailers are pretty much all done at that dealership. Only thing we got left, I think, is a few that need some work before they can get moved. I haven't been there either in a week or I think almost a week. I think I was there Monday. I don't know, maybe it was Sunday. Maybe it is actual full week because I think it was Sunday and today is Sunday. So, and there was only maybe like 20 trailers left when I was there a week ago. And then last I heard there was like a couple that needed new tires, and I think a fifth wheel that was having issues with the hitch, and maybe just a few other ones. So I had mentioned to my dispatcher that he could let me know if they get those trailers ready. I'd be willing to run over there and take care of them. Just because I think I'm probably the closest driver that we have to that dealership. So most of our guys are, I think, out of Wisconsin or maybe Indiana. So for me being right outside Chicago, it's just a straight shot west for me to go to the Sterling dealer. It's about an hour, 45-minute drive versus, I didn't even look at what it said it was going to take me to get to Elkhart today, but usually it's like 2 hours, 15 minutes for me to deadhead to Elkhart. So, yeah, we'll see what happens with that. But so Tuesday I had surgery for a hernia that I had, and so I haven't done any work until today. So we'll see how it goes. I haven't been really driving. I've really just been sitting at home relaxing. First few days were pretty painful. They did like the actual incision where they put like the mesh in versus like the orthoscopic, and the reason they chose to do the mesh with the actual incision is because I lift weights and stuff, so they said the orthoscopic version probably wouldn't hold up. So this is a more successful repair for the situation, and also with my work that I do with my business, carrying ladders and stuff like that. So I just have to be able to be physical. I had the hernia since like 2018, so I was living with it for a while. It was small to start out, and it just grew over time, and finally enough was enough. I just had to get it taken care of. So I waited until after the holidays so that I can do all the holiday lighting and stuff like that, make the money I can make, and then get the surgery. So probably gonna grab a small trailer today, just so that if for some reason it's too much, I can stop at home, which is like the halfway point through the delivery, because it's like 2 hours 15 minutes to Elkhart, hook up 2 hours 15 minutes. I literally pass by the exit to my house, going up to Sheboygan where I'm going. So if I decide that I need to stop, just maybe like the sitting position is too much, I can just exit off and stop at home for the night, or maybe see if my buddy wants to pick up and do the delivery. But I'm hoping it's fine and it goes well. I was getting kind of stir crazy at home. I'm not used to not doing something, so I've literally been doing pretty much nothing. Obviously can't go to the gym workout or anything like that. And been doing a little bit of work on the Ram because I've been having issues with it, but very, very light stuff like changing fuses and stuff, trying to track down the issue I've been having. So if anybody didn't know, I mean, I made a couple videos and some shorts and stuff, but basically on New Year's Eve, I drove the Ram, just kind of doing some errands and stuff like that. I think I took it to the gym, ran to get some food for New Year's Eve down the road, and came back, parked it, and I think like later in the evening, around 8:30 or so, I ran outside to, I think I moved it further up into the driveway about 8:30 at night, no issues. Well, the next morning, New Year's Day, I was gonna go to the gym around 9 a.m. I went to auto start it from the window like I usually would do, and the lights flashed and it didn't start. So I thought, well, that's weird, but I thought maybe like a check engine light came up. I knew I had plenty of fuel. I knew that wasn't the issue, because I think if it's on E, or if the gas light's on, it won't auto start. But I think if there's a check engine light, it won't auto start. So that was like my first thought, was I knew I had gas, but maybe there was a check engine light causing it to not start. So I went outside. It's a big horn, so you put that goofy Ram key into the ignition. I tried to start it, nothing. So I thought, well, that's crappy, because my driveway's a 1-car wide driveway. My Power Stroke, my wife's SUV are in front of the Ram, so the Ram's blocking everything in. Couldn't even like back a car out into the grass, because I would have had it go into my neighbor's yard and over their bushes and stuff, just to get my wife's car out, which was the next one in line. So I did manage to get my wife's SUV kind of in a position next to it, like kind of kitty corner to it, where I could run the jumper cables, and I wasn't getting anything. So I ended up borrowing my neighbor's car, ran to Walmart, got some new batteries. That's what was in it, and I think they said like 2021, so I figured I got about 5 years out of them. And Walmart was the closest to me that was going to be open on New Year's Day. So I was planning on just going back and getting the exact same, I think they were like 800 cold cranking amps or something. So that's what I was going to do. I was going to go with that same exact 2 batteries. Got to Walmart, they only had one of them. So I could have bought the one and then went to like another Walmart, but I had my neighbor's car. I really didn't want to just be running around. I wanted to get it back to him. So they had like the platinum, like the upgraded batteries that were, I think, like $35 or $40 more a piece. They had 2 of those. They had 2 of the cheaper ones too that were only like 110 a piece, but I didn't want to take a chance on those not having enough like cold cranking amps, or just not being enough battery for me. And even if they would have got it started, like dying in a year or 2 and then having to spend even more money. So I went ahead, bought the platinums. They're like 190 a piece instead of like 150, I think, on the ones I wanted. But when I had got those, I'll rewind a little bit. I tried to take the batteries out of the Ford, but with the Ram, the polarity is opposite than the Ford, and the cables are not long enough, so I couldn't use the Ford batteries. So then I wish I would have noticed that when I was taking them out, because I had taken the Ford batteries out assuming they were going to work, and they didn't. So I set the one in place on the Ram, and I'm like, well, that's not going to work. So I went ahead and put those back in the Ford, and then that's when I went and got the batteries for the Ram. And so I put the brand new batteries in. Connections are good, everything's clean. Same issue. It all the lights turn on, it just doesn't crank over. So decided to have it towed. I could have like pushed it out into the road and probably start working on it just so I can get a car out, but I don't don't have like overnight parking in front of my house, they'll give me a ticket. I can call, tell them I have an issue, but they're only going to give me probably a day or two. And just where I live and the neighbors I have and stuff, it probably would have been an issue if I was out there in the road working on the truck. So again, I have AAA, so they'll tow it for no extra cost other than like the membership within like 5 miles. So I have a preferred shop that I go to in town, but they don't have like a great parking lot situation, and with the truck being completely dead and it being New Year's and not being able to get a hold of them, I didn't want to just like dump it off in their lot. So AAA had like a recommended shop, so I said, yeah, let's go ahead, let's take it there. So that was Thursday, New Year's Day, about, I think it was like 5-6 o'clock at night. They dropped it at the shop, and I gave the tow truck, well, rewind a little bit again. So the first tow truck that showed up, we pushed the truck out into the road because they wanted the motor to be up towards the front of the truck for the weight purpose. So we got it out on the road, got it about loaded up, and they said, oh, this isn't a big enough truck for your truck. So now the truck's just like blocking the neighborhood road. So I asked them if we could like drag it with chains, out of the way at least, so that the road wasn't completely blocked. So they did that. About 45 minutes to an hour later, a bigger truck came, bigger flatbed, took it, delivered it to the shop. So I called them Friday morning, right when they opened at like 7 or 7:30. I had never been to this shop before, and I explained to them the issue I was having, and they said, oh, the tow truck driver dropped it like at the next building over. It was like a hotel pretty much, but they were like, we'll get it moved over, get it in the shop, get it looked at. So I was running loads that day. The dealer did a transfer, so I was up in Baraboo about 4 o'clock. I got a phone call, and they said, well, we don't have the keys. The tow truck driver didn't leave us the keys. And so I was already kind of frustrated, because I'm like, well, I thought you were going to look at it at, get it in at 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning. Because if they would have called me then, I could have had my wife run the spare key over. But now she was an hour away visiting her family, so I couldn't have anybody run my spare key over. So then I got to get a hold of the tow truck driver. He ended up going back there Friday night, moving it closer to the doors for him, and he locked the keys in the truck on accident. So I chalked that up to just, stuff happens, whatever. Assume they would look at it Saturday. Well, it turns out they're not open Saturday at all, or Sunday, which Sunday I expect they're not going to be open, but Saturday I just assumed, most shops nowadays are half-day Saturdays and stuff. So that, we lost the weekend there. So I call them Monday morning again, let them know, hey, because I did drive by, I made sure that the truck was moved, I made sure the keys were unlocked, stuff like that. So they said, yeah, we're going to get it in, get it looked at. And that was Monday morning. So I had my surgery Tuesday, figured, well, I wasn't going to be able to pick it up anyways Tuesday. I'll wait and see how things go. They should give me a call, by Tuesday or something. Well, Tuesday passes now, no phone call, nothing. Wednesday comes. I was still feeling pretty crappy, so I figured, well, I'll give them, today, and then I'll see what's up. So about 1 o'clock Wednesday, I call, and I didn't really like the way that they talk to me. That they answer the phone, they're like, "Oh, it's you again." And I'm like, "Well, yeah, it's Wednesday, and you haven't communicated." And turns out they hadn't gotten the truck in yet, hadn't looked at it. They promised me they'd get it in either Wednesday or Thursday. So hung up the phone, started thinking about it, and thought, you know what? I'm gonna see about getting this thing towed somewhere else, because I don't know if they don't want to do it, or it's outside of their capabilities, or they're really just that busy. Because they were saying that they only have one lift that'll lift the truck up, but for the situation that I had, I don't really think you need a lift. Because it's either, at that point we were thinking it's either going to be the starter, it's going to be some relays, a security device, something's going on that's not letting it even crank. So I called AAA, set them up, explained the situation. They agreed to go grab it, deliver it to my preferred shop that I usually go to. I called the shop, told them, hey, explain the situation, this is what's going on. Explained why I didn't bring it to them in the first place, but that I trust them to look at it more based off the situation. He said, okay, yeah, get it in. So it's the same tow company, and so I called the other shop back, the original shop, explained to them, hey, I'm just gonna have it picked up, like I need the truck back, it's a work truck, like it's costing me money at this point. So I would say they weren't happy about it. They were trying to tell me they would for sure get it in by the next day, and I just said, I already heard that multiple times from you guys, like it's gotta go. So they called the new shop, which was kind of weird, and so then I'm talking to the new shop, and the new shop owner's like, I don't know why this guy's calling me. He's like, but I think he feels bad that he didn't get the truck fixed, this and that, yada yada yada. Well, he lied to the new shop saying, well, I didn't even get the truck until sometime on Monday. And I'm like, no, they got it Thursday, with issues with the tow truck driver and stuff, but a lot of that had to do with them not communicating that they didn't have keys and stuff. Also, after talking to the tow truck company, they said, no, we didn't lock the keys in the truck. So I don't know if it's the shop again lying or if the tow truck company's lying, but one of the two misplaced the keys at that point and then eventually got them. But either way, got it to the new shop. They got it in. Well, the tow truck company, same tow truck company, sends the wrong size tow truck again. So then they had to send another tow truck. This is now Wednesday evening, and the new shop closed at 5, and I told the tow truck company, like, we got to get it there by 5 because they've got a bay open for it. They're going to have you help them just drop it right into the bay so that it's not blocking the parking lot. Well, they don't get there till about 5:30, but luckily the owner was still there, and him and the tow truck driver did manage to get it into the shop. So then Thursday, they diagnosed it. I think it ended up being a bad fuse, sending basically information to the starter, so the starter wasn't cranking. So they got it started with the fuse on Thursday, but then the batteries weren't charging. So it ended up being a blown 250 amp fuse, like the main fuse, and it wasn't allowing the batteries to charge. Talking with the new shop, they basically said, they've never seen that happen before, and the only thing we could come up with is either the tow truck company, because AAA had originally sent somebody out to try to start it, and I told them, like, it's not going to start. Like, I put new batteries in it. They hooked up jumper cables, everything. Tow truck company came out, tried to start it, hooked up jumper cables, everything. And then who knows what that other shop tried. But basically, I think because the Ram has opposite polarity than maybe a Ford or maybe even a GM, somewhere along the lines they didn't notice it and they hooked up the cables backwards, and that's how the 250 amp got fried, is kind of what we're coming up with. So I think originally, if I would have replaced the fuse going to the starter, the truck probably would have started. But they ended up having to replace the 250 amp. So got that replaced, the truck's running. I go to pick it up, drive down the road, and I notice my radio's not working. It's just black, no sound coming out, no screen coming on. So I turn around, go back to the shop. We're chasing down fuses. There's no fuses for the radio in the main box. So I'm Googling, find out there's one like on the firewall, specific for the radio. So and I'm like 2 days post surgery at this point, climbing around on the truck, like really not supposed to be doing that, but I'm trying to get this truck figured out. We find the fuse, me and the mechanic and I, and pull it out, test the fuse, it's good. So put it back in, basically don't know what's caused. He basically said, I think the radio fried when they did the, reverse polarity at some point. So that's kind of what we left it at. I drove it home. I went home and I ended up replacing that 20, I think it's a 20 or 25 amp that's on the firewall specific for the radio. I know it tested out good, but I had one, so I was like, I'm gonna just replace that. I replaced the one for the backup camera. I replaced the one for the amplifier. Nothing. Everything works. Like control buttons are light lit up, AC, heat, vents, you can hear everything, all the windows. I checked everything. The only thing that's not working on the truck is the actual screen itself is not coming on and the radio's not making any sound. So I decided to go ahead and order a new radio because it's kind of sounding like, yeah, that's probably fried. I had the factory Uconnect 8.4 because I had replaced it with an Apple CarPlay radio that I got off of Amazon. So I still had the factory one. I was going to go ahead and just toss it in just to see if that fixed it. But the problem is I got to have Apple CarPlay or, the GPS on the screen. So I decided, instead of spending the hour or so it was going to take me, maybe longer with how slow I move right now, to do all that, I just decided to order the new radio. It was like 2 day shipping. So that's actually supposed to show up today. I probably won't get it put in tonight when I get home because it's going to be pretty late, unless I decide to come home with this trailer, make it a half load. And we'll see if that fixes the issue. Meanwhile, I started talking with the local Ram dealer about a trade-in value on the truck. I don't really want to do that. I have a lot of money into this truck. So, I bought the truck in August for $27,000 out the door from a dealership. When I financed it, and I financed it through a third-party bank, they appraised it at $27,000. So originally the dealership wanted like $30,000, I think. And I just basically haggled back and forth. I just basically told them, like, listen, I'm not paying more than what it's valued at through the bank. So if you want to sell it to me out the door for the price that the bank is telling me it's worth, that's what I'll pay for it. So they agreed. So I felt good about the purchase of that truck. Like it was tuned and deleted already, which some people could say is good, bad, whatever. I thought of it as a good thing, being that I'm not gonna have to pay for it. It was super clean, no rust, brand new tires, all the headlights, interior lights, everything's been upgraded to LED. It had like an old man contractor cap on it, so I just assumed it was like an old person. And when I got up underneath it, like the exhaust was brand new, so I figured that the original emission system probably had just gone out on it, and the owner of the truck, who might have been a contractor or something, just maybe a shop told them it would be cheaper to delete it than try to replace like the emission system. So maybe that's the route he went, and then traded it in. I don't know. That's kind of what I figured based off the condition of the truck. Well, like 2,000 miles after I bought it, transmission goes out. So I put a built transmission, cost me like $8,200. I had to have the brakes done on it. I did the radio on it. I had to replace the seat. That was the only sign of wear, was the seat. The driver's seat had a rip in the bolster, so I replaced the seat cover on it. Got rid of the cap, put a fifth wheel in it, brand new fifth wheel hitch, put a bed cover on it. So I've got a good amount of money invested in it. Now 2 brand new batteries. The diagnosis with the relays and all the issues that I had, that cost me like $420. So I'm like nearing in on $40,000 total on this truck. So at this point, it's no longer a good deal. I'm very far into this truck, very upside down on it. I've only put 20,000 miles on it since I bought it because of the issues that it's been having. It just hasn't been a consistent truck to use for work. I did use it for my business for a while the Ford was running RV transport loads. But I bought the Ram to be the RV transport truck, and it hasn't done that for me. So I'm kind of in a situation like, if the radio fixes it, do I give it another shot and see if it starts to hold up a little bit better? Problem is, I'm pretty positive it needs a turbo actuator. When we use the exhaust brake, it throws a check engine light and it has like a whine. So I think the turbo actuator is going out. So, you know, there's another 1,000 or so, give or take, of a few hundred, depending on which route I go. So it's like, you know, do I put that money into it again? And then it only has like a 32-gallon factory tank. So I've been looking at doing an auxiliary tank, which is going to cost me like another $1,300. And I'm just leery about putting $1,300 into, you know, that truck plus maybe $1,000 with the turbo actuator, and then hoping that it's going to be a long-lasting truck. Well, we got an accident up here. Looks like someone's way off into the cattails there. I don't know how that happens. It's not icy or anything. Yeah, so I'm stuck with a decision right now. Do I cut my losses? And I will not take, like, I mean, I'm gonna have to take a loss on it, but, you know, I did like the CarMax value. I did the Carvana. Someone towing a big park model. You know, they're only offering like 10 to 14. KBB does put it at as high as 21,000 trade-in. But I'm not seeing that really. So I talked to the local Ram dealer. I didn't bring it in yet. I just sent them like a video of it. And their original offer was like 15,000, and I just told them, like, I can't do 15 based off what I paid on it and the money that I got into it. And I told them, like, you know, if that's what, I'm not being a jerk about it, you know, if that's what it values at, if that's what they're offering, then, you know, there's just not a deal to be had for me there. You know, and of course they wanted me to just buy the truck anyway that I was asking about, and I said, no, I'm not I don't need a third truck. I don't have anywhere to put a third truck right now. And then I'm still stuck with the issues with the 4th gen, so that's not a situation I was willing to get into. They did call back like an hour later and said that they could get me in the 20s for trade. I would like to be at about 26. You know, that still puts me at losing, you know, nearly $14,000 on the truck. But what I would trade it in on likely would be a new Ram 3500 dually Cummins. They have two at the local dealership by my house. Both of them are discounted like $8,000 off MSRP. I think I can maybe get them a little bit more than that, because there's another dealership about a half hour away that's discounted like closer to $10,000 off MSRP, and has very similar trucks. So, you know, I would probably try to get them to match that, or go to the other dealership and negotiate, you know, the same trade-in value basically. But I opted to not go there on Saturday. They wanted me to obviously come in. I wanted want to see if the radio, I would have to maximize my trade-in value, I would have to do either put the Ram factory Uconnect or the new radio. So I decided, let me go ahead, put the new radio in, let me feel them out, see really how aggressive they're going to get with trying to make a deal. For them to come up at least 5,000 just in an hour, I think shows that they're probably not moving too many trucks. Maybe I can get them closer to it would have my rock bottom is going to be like 26,000. Like that's where I got to get to, and I would have to make sure that they're not going to finagle the numbers to make it look like they're giving me 26, but they're adding on somewhere else. Like, I'm not doing that. Like, it's got to be a real 26, and I still want the discounts on the new truck. So, the benefits there would be obviously a brand new truck, warranty, stuff like that. I've said it a lot, like I'm against a new truck for RV transport, but the issue that I would run into is if I tried to trade it in on another used one, I just won't get the money for it. So I'm kind of stuck in a situation where I have to go towards new. And what I would end up doing is my Ford would become like the dedicated RV transport truck, and the new Ram 3500 dually would be my personal truck that I would also run RV loads, but not quite as many as the Ford. That's kind of a long shot. It kind of makes me sick to my stomach to think about. So it's all going to depend on probably how things go with the radio. The other thing is if the radio works, I'm going to run an RV load with that truck probably right away and try to make sure that nothing else got fried. That I'm not going to come up with like more electrical gremlins. But the situation I'm in is like the longer that the truck's not doing what it needs to do, it's just costing me money now. And I financed that truck for a very short period because of the age of it and the interest rate. I was trying to keep the interest rate as low as possible. So I think I only financed it for like 3 or 4 years. I can't remember the exact number. But so the payment's relatively high on that truck because, most of the time these guys go and they buy a brand new truck, it's like minimum 60 months. You're probably going. So because I only did, I think it was like 40. It was an odd number. It wasn't an even year. It might have been like 40 months. The payment's high and the interest rate's still higher than like what a brand new one would be at. So when I was looking at the numbers, if I were to do like a 60 or 72 month loan, still get a lower interest rate, the payment's really not going to be, it's going to be more, but not much more, like maybe a couple $100 more. And I'm in a brand new truck. Obviously it's a longer term and stuff, so you're committed longer. I would ideally not. I would probably go with a Ford. The problem is the Fords are not discounted like the Rams are. So if I wanted to step up into a dually Ford, whether or not I go with like a Platinum, a Lariat, whatever, it's like a $15,000 increase over the Ram. So that's why I was looking at the new Rams. I am intrigued by their new 8-speed transmission. There's things I still don't like about the Ram. Unless you get the mega cab, you're going with the smaller inside cab space. I do have kids, so they are in the truck, so like that part of it's going to kind of suck. I do want to go dually for stability. Like, my fifth wheel, my personal fifth wheel was like a 42 footer, about 14,000 loaded up. This last year we did that trip up into the mountains of like Tennessee, Carolinas and stuff. The Ford performed fine, but I think, this year we're doing like Colorado and some stuff out west for like 10 days. I think having the dually with the family with stability would be ideal. So that's kind of the route I'm looking at. Not guaranteed that that's what I would end up doing. You know, if I got the right deal on even a 2500, I would do that and then just, you know, get bags or something for it. But the truck that I was kind of set on is the new slate gray or ceramic gray. I can't remember. It's like that matte gray looking with the night edition with the black wheels, and they have a bighorn. So it's got like the 12-inch big screen. It's got heated cloth, heated steering wheel. That's kind of the route that I was looking at because it's a decent price point, decent discount. They have a Laramie, but it's not the night edition. So, and it's like a silver. It's not as nice of a looking truck, but it does have like the leather inside. And it adds like the cooled seats and stuff. That's really the only, it might have a sunroof, but those are the two I was kind of looking at. I would love to get like a limited with that. It has like, I think, a 14-inch screen now, plus a screen for the passenger and stuff, but you're talking $100,000, and honestly, if I was spending that kind of money, I'm probably going like Ford F450. So we'll see. Like I said, it's kind of a long shot. Gonna take it step by step, see what the radio does. If that fixes the issue, then I may just, you know, run with the 4th gen and hope for the best. Eventually get the aux tank, get the turbo actuator done, and hopefully the truck will just keep running. But basically, let me know in the comments what you think. This video got super long. I apologize, but it's been a little while. There's been a lot of issues. I've been trying to throw some shorts in there. You know, let me know what you would do. You know, especially like if you're an RV transporter, would you cut your losses? Have you dealt with issues like this? Would you cut your losses, get rid of the truck, get a new one? Or would you continue to invest in the 4th gen, hoping for the best? I know a lot of people say the 4th gen is like the best Ram. It just hasn't been that for me. Even my last 4th gen that I had, it had some issues. Not issues like this one's dealing with, but I've had better luck with my Fords, if I'm being completely honest. Especially the 6.7s, like. So, you know, what would you give if you decided to get a new truck, would you give the new Ram a shot? Or is that stupid? Should I just go Ford? I really don't think I would go GM. I feel like they're priced similar to the Ford, and the cost to tune and delete an L5P is just outrageous. And I know that, and with the new Ram, I know you can't tune and delete it yet, but my hope is that eventually you could, and it'll be cheaper. It's not going to be $8,000 or whatever it is to do an L5P Duramax. That's just insanity to me. I paid like $1,900 to tune and delete the Fords. I think my 2015 was only like $1,450 because I just did a mid-pipe delete. So let me know in the comments what you think. Would you stick with the 4th gen, keep giving it some love, throwing some money at it, hoping that it turns around? Would you cut your losses on it? Would you go with a new Ram? Would you go with a Ford? Sell me on the GM if I'm missing something there. And you know, would you go with like a bighorn, or would you spend that extra money, get like a Laramie or Limited or something like that? So knowing that it's going to be my personal truck, it's hard. The only reason that I'm a little bit hesitant on like a bighorn or something, or an XLT, is because right now the Ford that I have, the one I'm in right now, is a Platinum. It's got, you know, even though it's a 2019, it's got the bells and whistles. Like, it's got the heated cooled seats, heated steering wheel, massaging seats, panoramic sunroof, drop down step boards, like 360 camera, like it's got adaptive cruise, all that. So you know, I do use that stuff. Can I live without it? Sure. Is it nice to have? You know, it is nice to have. So but yeah, let me know in the comments. Again, I apologize for such a long video. Give the channel a like, or give the video a like, subscribe to the channel, and leave me a comment.